Screech by TarynMcT. Read by Oakshadow5. Chapter 32. Izuku was determined to avoid Dad's gaze. He knew his dad wanted an explanation for his comment, but how was he really supposed to explain that his mom had cut off his wings regularly for about a year solid when she was trying to force him to be quirkless? Yeah, it had been about 5 years since the last time he'd lost a wing, but he knew it would grow back. And who knows, he might even have all of his adult feathers on that wing now. What? He heard Keigo shriek. Oh, Dad must have told Keigo either that his wing came off, or that he said it'd grow back. All that's left now is for Hito and Papa to hear, and then the whole family would be after him for an explanation. Izuku glanced around and seriously considered running off and finding his own way home, but the thought of making sure everyone in his family was okay won out, and he jogged towards the police barricade where he could see his brother's purple hair. He only made it a few meters before he was grabbed by a panicking Keigo. My baby bird, Eraser said you lost a wing? We can get that fixed. We can get you in touch with the support company. We can get you a new wing. Don't lose hope. The sky hasn't been... Izuku cut him off by covering his mouth. Keigo, relax. Yeah, it hurt. It always does. But it's not the first time. I've lost my wings about a dozen times before. It'll grow back. As Izuku watched Keigo blue scream from the new information, he continued on his way to Hitoshi. Once again, Izuku didn't get far, but this time it was Hitoshi who had noticed him and came running over, ducking under the arm of an officer trying to keep him on the side of the barricade. Izuku, he called out as he reached him and pulled him into a hug. Are you okay? Izuku clung to Hitoshi and scoffed. Am I okay? What kind of question is that? You're the one who was kidnapped. Are you okay? Hitoshi laughed. Yeah, I'm fine. The guy they had as the babysitter was actually kinda cool. We just bullshitted the entire time. Izuku noticed how Hitoshi still hadn't loosened his grip on Izuku and how he was shaking, so Izuku kept his own grip on his brother tight. Shota and Keigo didn't take long to join the two and nudged them towards the medics. I'm fine, Hitoshi said. I don't think I even have more than a few scrapes and bruises from the training camp. It's not for you, Keigo muttered. Eraser's ears could use a look over, and I want a medic to look at my baby bird. Hitoshi pulled back from Izuku a little bit and started looking him over. Are you hurt? Izuku waved his hand in a so-so motion. Nothing you can see, but one of my wings did get ripped off. Don't worry, he exclaimed quickly, seeing the panic in Hitoshi's face rising. Like I already told Dad and Keigo, it's not the first time. Hitoshi paled a bit. Not the first time? He whispered. Yeah, I'm with Keigo. Let's get you to the medics. Izuku sighed and resigned himself to a trip to the hospital so everyone can finally rest easy, knowing that he really would heal and be just fine. Detective Tsukauchi had met Shota and the rest of his family at the hospital for the statements. Izuku was letting all the doctors fuss over him, but it was clear that he was only doing so to humor everyone. He said he was fine, and by the way he was acting, Shota had a feeling he really might be fine. Shota wasn't sure if he was going to be fine though. The way Izuku just calmly explained how his mother had cut off his wings as soon as they had healed had him seeing red. I almost wish she hadn't been arrested and tried already. I'd love to be the one to catch her resisting arrest right about now. Shota growled. Wait, Izuku looked up at him. Arrested and tried? When did that happen? Hizashi cocked his head at Izuku. About a month after we took you in, your mother was arrested. Didn't we tell you? Izuku shook his head at them, wide-eyed. Oh. Hizashi and Shota shared a sheepish look. Oops. Tsukauchi snorted at the both of them. Her trial was last week. I was wondering why you weren't there, but if you weren't even told she had been arrested, that makes sense. She was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Keigo was sitting next to Izuku, and he pulled the boy closer, wrapping him in a hug. Things were a little hectic the past week, Tsukauchi. We didn't want to further upset the owlet by making him go through all that. I guess it just never crossed our minds that he didn't know she'd even been arrested. Izuku leaned heavily into Keigo's hold and gave a soft hoot when he started cutting his fingers through his hair. Izuku seemed to twitch as Keigo pulled out his phone and answered it. Heyo, this is Hawks. How can I help ya? Shota hadn't heard it ring, but the two raptors in the room did. Keigo got up and excused himself from the room. Well, Hizashi said as he took Keigo's spot next to Izuku. I'm glad the doctor said your injuries won't affect your typical day-to-day life, but are you really sure your wing will grow back? Izuku cuddled close to Hizashi and let him pull him into a hug. That boy certainly loved his cuddles, and nodded. It's going to be about a month before it's back, and then about another month of exercising it before it's strong enough for me to fly again. But yes, it will grow back. I'll have lower energy for the next month, so more naps and likely sleeping through the whole night, but I really will be fine. Hitoshi nodded gravely. Maybe now I'll be able to beat you in a race. Izuku wasn't sure if he was supposed to be happy or irritated, and kept alternating between the two emotions, with everyone showing him an attention. First, it was Keigo, Shota, Hizashi, and Hitoshi fretting about a swing, and now he got Denki thrown into the mix as well. That's not to say he didn't like the constant snuggling, and he loved how Denki kept him tucked under his chin and his arms wrapped around him, but still, the constant worry was getting annoying. Who would have thought that Shota would be the one to rescue him? You know, the constant worry when nothing at all is wrong gets irritating fast. He said he's fine, so stop pestering him. Everyone looked at him, sitting there coolly scrolling through his phone, while Izuku just started nodding. He's right, Izuku said. There really isn't anything wrong with me, and while I do love the cuddles, he tightened his grip on Denki slightly. I'd appreciate it if everyone could stop mentioning my wing. Shoto nodded sagely. Instead of fretting over Izuku, how about we switch over to Hitoshi? You were just kidnapped after all. Hitoshi rolled his eyes. Okay, I get it. Nothing's wrong, and it's irritating. I'll stop. He muttered and flipped to his side, laying across Shoto's lap. Shoto simply smiled and started running his fingers through Hitoshi's hair. Well, if we're doing a subject change, Denki piped up. Hitoshi, what was up with that kid at the camp? After the morning on the first day, he wouldn't stop following you around. Hitoshi hummed an agreement. His name is Kota. His parents were heroes who died in action, and he was bitter about it. A little bit of trauma dumping can make friends, I guess. The way he was following you around almost made me think you were gonna be bringing home a new little brother, Denki laughed. Shoto snorted. The kid kicked Sensei in the shin, and I think he'd ever willingly take the kid home. Izuku popped his head up at that. No, Dad let someone kick him? Let is a strong word, Zu. Hitoshi giggled. As the group dissolved into giggles, a red feather opened the patio door and Keigo landed on the balcony and took off his boots before coming in. Heyo, chicklets! He greeted, before flopping on the couch next to Izuku and ruffling his hair, earning a soft chirp in response. Are the responsible adults around? Responsible adults in this household? Please. Hitoshi laughed. But if you mean the parentals, they're in the kitchen. Parentals! Keigo called out, lazily, not getting up. Your presence is being requested. Fuck off! Grumbled Shota from the kitchen. Izuku giggled at Keigo's affronted expression. I wasn't expecting you back so soon, Keigo. That calls are not important. Keigo was still mildly glaring at the kitchen but responded. Oh, it kinda was. The press wanted me to relay a few messages to you and Zashi. He raised his voice so he would be heard by the two in the kitchen. Which I would gladly be doing now if the parentals would come here. Again, fuck off, Keigo. Shota called out again. They're making dinner. Shota explained. We couldn't decide between katsudon and sukiyaki, so they're making both. Keigo huffed out an annoyed breath. I suppose I can share my message after dinner? Denki piped up. What's it about? You said it's for Zu and Mike Sensei? Keigo hummed an agreement. It's not important, but I do need to deliver them today. Keigo paused. Well, I have to deliver Zuku's today, but I can always just let Zashi get blindsided by his. For fuck's sake. They heard Shota grumble from the kitchen, followed by Zashi's snorting laughter. Go find out what the pigeon wants. I am not a pigeon, you overgrown hobo caterpillar! Keigo countered to the amusement of the teens. Hizashi exited the kitchen, wiping his hands on a hand towel and laughing. What's up, Kei? I want to see the hobo's face when I say this, so I need you both. It can wait for after dinner. He shrugged. We didn't cook for you. Shota called out again from the kitchen. Ooh, I'm gonna enjoy this tournament way more than I should, Keigo hissed. Hizashi rolled his eyes fondly and went back into the kitchen. Dinner will be ready in about 10 minutes. Dinner was fun. Keigo stubbornly refusing to share the messages, since now Shota wanted to know. But eventually, the group migrated back to the living room, and Keigo no longer had any excuses to put off saying what he came here to say. Okay, so I have two things, he started, as he pulled out an envelope from his jacket. First, this is straight from the Madam President, so yeah. As thanks to the refund vigilante Screech for the defeat of the villain known as Alpha 1, the HPSC is hereby graduating you from the reform program. You don't even want to know how fast I had to talk to get them to officially downgrade this to a provisional license and not the full license. Wait, they want to give him his full license? Shota asked, horrified. Yeah, Keigo confirmed. Denki raised his hand up in the air while Izuku was looking at Keigo with the same level of horror as Shota. Question, why would that be a bad thing? Izuku was just gaping like a fish, so Hizashi answered for him. Izuku doesn't want to be a spotlight hero, he wants to be underground, so becoming the youngest pro hero ever at 16 would bring him a lot of publicity. He would be forced into the spotlight. He still might be in the spotlight a little bit, that fight was televised, but with him being a minor, and more importantly, not yet a pro, his name won't be released to the public. Denki nodded along to that. Okay, that makes sense. Keigo smirked at him. Just know, Owlet, that as soon as you graduate, you've already got your full license. This provisional is just a formality, since I convinced them you're too young for the full version. Izuku looked over to Shota and Hizashi. Please tell me I've inexplicably lost my hearing and Keigo didn't say what I think he said? Sorry, kiddo, you're licensed. Congrats! Hizashi cheered. Keigo laughed and ruffled Izuku's hair. Well, with that, I guess I can take off. I really only came to hand you your license. Keigo gave the envelope to Izuku and walked over to the patio, slyly keeping an eye on Shota as Izuku pulled out the letter. Wait, this is addressed to Present Mike? Izuku looked up to Hizashi and handed it to him. With a confused expression, Hizashi read the letter and Keigo very subtly slipped his headphones on to protect his ears. Just in time too, as Hizashi let out a shriek that made everyone but Izuku flinch and Shota to activate his quirk. Oh, right! Keigo snapped his fingers. I knew I was forgetting something. The higher-ups also mentioned something else. Apparently, Mike caught the attention of pretty much everyone when he joined Screech in the defeat of Alpha 1, so they are bumping his ranking. Congrats, Shota! You married to the new number 9 hero! Damn it! Shota cursed and stood off the couch. Oh my gosh, Izuku got his provisional license! And he kinda has his full license as well. And Hizashi is number 9 in the pro hero rankings! Woo! But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 32 of Screech, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!